July 1986. This is Reading Remembrances. I'm Eric Smith. For those of you who watched last week's episode, you know that there was no June of 1986 because I was in basic training for the Air Force. And July here only has two books. All of June I was in basic training. First half of July I was still in basic training. Then I went to tech school. So not a lot of time for reading. And all of this basic training, tech school, combat training, all in and around San Antonio, Texas, which I actually quite enjoyed. I didn't think Texas was too bad, or San Antonio at least. So anyway, only two books got read in July of 1986, which is better than the 0 books in June of 1986. The first one is Raw Deal by Walter Wager, and it is a novelization of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Schwarzenegger is a former FBI agent. He was kicked out for excessive force, and he becomes a small town sheriff, and the son of the head of the FBI is murdered. And he comes to Schwarzenegger and asks him to go undercover with the Chicago Mafia and just take him apart. And that's what Schwarzenegger does. So I saw the movie. As far as I remember, it was okay. It wasn't the greatest Schwarzenegger movie in my opinion, and I don't even remember reading the book. But I'm sure it was at the same level as the movie, I would guess. I don't know. Maybe I'll watch this movie again someday if it's available somewhere and see if my opinion has changed. That happens on occasion. But it's no Predator or Commando or Kindergarten Cop. Or I think I'd remember it better if it was. I like all those movies. Anyway, that's Raw Deal, Walter Wager. The second book I read in July is The Prince of Evil, which is The Spider, number 3. It's by Grant Stockbridge. And this is just pulpy goodness. I looked online. I could not find a synopsis for this in any of the places I looked. So I just assume it's typical pulp fare. The Spider... not as well known as the Shadow or Doc Savage, and I don't think I enjoyed. I think they were fine, but I definitely did not enjoy them as much as the Shadow or Doc Savage. I think the Spider probably gets compared to the Shadow more than any other character. I mean, Doc Savage is a completely different kind of character, I think, but he's still one of those classic pulps. But the Spider, not one I really got into. I know I've read a few, but I don't own any at the moment. I have not nearly as many books of the Shadow as I would like, but I have quite a few, and I have a ton of Doc Savage, and I have a ton of the Avenger. I have most of the Avenger books, which is by the same author as Doc Savage. Really enjoy the pulps, but the Spider wasn't one that really grabbed me. They were fine. Nothing spectacular in my opinion. And that's it. So this is a really short video. I'm not sure what else I could talk about. Raw Deal and Prince of Evil. That's all I read in July, aside from training manuals and textbooks. Would you call it that in tech school? I was learning how to be a security specialist. Excuse me. How to shake people down. No, wait, that sounds negative. I remember we were learning how to search people, proper way to handcuff someone, of course, guns and stuff, certain aspects of security in the Air Force, the different things we could do. Actually, I was really lucky with what I ended up doing in the Air Force, because the way I remember it, the two main jobs for a security specialist were either flight line, which was basically walking around an airplane for 8 hours or however long your shift happened to be. Smaller airplanes, you had to walk around the whole thing. Larger airplanes, you had one person walking back and forth in the front, one person walking back and forth in the back. And then the other main job, I think, was missile base, where this is how I remember it. You would go out for 48 hours. I assume there was some sort of split shifts in there. But you had to maintain security at these missile bases, like in Minot, North Dakota. I believe that's where it was. And so responding to alarms, checking the fences around the whole base. I can't really say because I never had to do that. I never had to do either one of those things. I actually ended up getting sent to Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, where we either worked driving patrols for our 8-hour shift. So a pair of people would, and there were a number of different driving patrols, but your assignment, you'd be paired up with one other person, and you would drive around a certain section of the base. Just check some places we had to rattle doorknobs, but just making sure nothing suspicious was going on. Or you worked in a guard shack, where you just, again, kept an eye out for anything suspicious and checked the IDs of anybody coming in of whatever area you were guarding. And there were maybe 2 or 3 walking posts where you had to walk a fence line for your 8-hour shift. Still better than the missile job or walking on a flight line, which would be boring as hell. And yeah, so I spent 3 years in California. Not a bad gig. And then my last year in the service was in Iceland. And as I'm going through the rest of these months for the next 4 years, I'm sure I'll bring up California and Iceland again as they relate to things. I'm just sort of trying to kill time. 3 minutes seemed pretty short for a video, so I'm just filling some time. So that's a little background on the Air Force. Again, I was in California, driving patrols, some walking patrols, not much. The base was, the western border of the base was the ocean. So that was pretty nice. I mean, the weather was great. Vandenberg Air Force Base is between Lompoc and Santa Maria, California. About, again, if I remember correctly, about 2 hours north of Los Angeles, about 5 hours from San Francisco. I really enjoyed California. And the job, again, was not bad. Worked 8-hour shifts. I worked 3 swing shifts, 3 midnight shifts, and then had 3 days off. That was my schedule for the entire time I was in California. I would get a calendar at the end of the year, get a calendar for the next year, obviously, and I could fill in every day off that I would have for the year. Not counting when I would take leave and stuff, but I would know what my days off were. My shifts never changed. But we'll get into all that. At this point, July of 86, I'm still in basic training / tech school. And let's see, I was in Texas for about 18 weeks. So the next few videos, the next couple, will still be when I was in Texas. I'm looking at the time, 9 minutes. That seems long enough, I guess, for me to ramble. Because again, 2 books: Raw Deal, novelization of an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie; The Prince of Evil, a spider pulp novel. I'm not sure why I picked up either of these while I was in Texas, or where I picked them up. Raw Deal I may have gotten at the PX, although at this point, at least in tech school, we could go off base, and I do know there was a mall in San Antonio that we would go to, which next month we're going to get a little bit into that, something that went down at that mall. All right, I guess that's it. I've rambled enough. That is July of 1986, reading Remembrances. I'm Eric Smith. Oh, If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. And that's all I've got for this video. So until next time, read more books.